welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is going to be a reading for Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising positions for the middle of October to the end of the month. Okay, so let's get started and see what messages we have for Libra. Happy birthday, Libra. The sun is in Libra until October 22nd. So any Libras watching, happy birthday. Okay, let's move. Oh, and then we're going to move into Scorpio. So I should say happy birthday to some Scorpios out there on the 23rd of October. And there's going to be a full moon coming up soon, so watch out for a reading for that. Anyway, okay, let's get started here for Libra as they move through October. It is what it is, which is a card of acceptance. Opening to discovery, okay, being open to the new, and close encounters. Okay, wow, these are interesting. All of these messages together really paint a very interesting picture. This, it is what it is really, it is about acceptance. It's radical acceptance. It's really about accepting things. And then when I see this opening to discovery card next to it, it suggests accepting things and adopting a new perspective when I add the meanings to each other. So sort of accepting things as they are, but adopting a new perspective, one that is fearless. You know, this idea of close encounters is really like, are you looking at things in a way that keep you in a cage? You know what I mean? Are you looking at things in a way that keep you in a cage? Or is it time to be open to discovering things could be different? You know what I mean? They might not be as you think. It is what it is. These messages all together are really interesting, that you're being invited here to accept certain things, but in a new lens, to not look at them the same way. For example, let's say you're in a relationship and you look at your partner in the same way all the time. And then someone comes in and says, well, it is what it is. You're going to have to accept them if you want to continue with them. And you're like, how can I accept this? You can accept it by seeing them differently, potentially. Are you seeing them in a way that prevents you from accepting them radically? Like, radical acceptance really suggests that you accept things without alteration, that you're like, whatever the way this is, I accept it. I accept it and I don't resist it, and I go with the flow with it. And I can look at it in any way I choose, if that makes any sense. And then this idea of close encounters is really suggesting that, like, vulnerability can be a strength here, Libra. You don't need to stay inside this cage shielding yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you become close to other people, you remind yourself that you're not alone, right? And that can be very beautiful and create meaningful bonds that on a spiritual level offer you many lessons. And I feel like being open to discovery is saying to you, what are those lessons? And are you integrating them? Are you able to sort of add new information to a picture that you've been looking at for a long time? Do you know what I mean? Like, taking all the information from the outer environment and then sort of assigning meaning to it, but in a new way. You know, it's sort of like this consistent exposure to fear-based information creates an atmosphere where, you know, you become cynical. And so can we adopt a new perspective to look through the keyhole with a different lens? These are very interesting messages, Libra. I feel like you are being invited to shift your... Oh, sorry, what was that? I feel like you're being invited to shift your perspective in a way that will open you up and to be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's a strength. I was just saying that to a very close friend of mine yesterday. She was struggling with wanting to open up. And, one of our other friends was encouraging her to be strong. And then I said, you know, it is a strength to be vulnerable. It is. It's an incredible strength. We deny ourselves that vulnerability because usually we're sitting in a fear place or maybe a place of shame. Very interesting. Okay, let's see what's going to come in here to support Libra as they move through the rest of their month, being open to new data, not always relying on the autopilot to tell them, or the perceptions that are the most popular around them, to go your way, taking what you've learned and to go your way, but to do so with this idea of radical acceptance. And that says to me, you're not resisting or trying to change anybody. You know what I mean? Okay, what will support Libra here as they move through October? Sort of dealing with acceptance and being open and being vulnerable. Being vulnerable. Oh my God, you got one card. Patience. Oh, I love you, Libra. Be patient. Be patient with yourself, with others. Oh, Libra. Patience. Patience is tricky for all of us, but I feel like it's tricky for a Libra because air signs are just so intelligent and so reliant on their intellect to help them reason, and it's just so hard to be patient when it's, you know, it feels like it's very black and white, you know, but it's very rarely so, isn't it, Libra? Okay, let's jump into the tarot cards here to see what the rest of the story is here for Libra as they move through their month. The sun is in you right now, Libra. The sun is sitting in Libra still. And so I feel like that's shining a masculine energy on you. And maybe that's why you're finding it hard to be patient here. You know, you're wanting to take action. And it might not be time to take action. It might be time to accept. Accept and be open to different perspectives and to be vulnerable. And to not be afraid to be vulnerable. Yeah, do I stay or do I go? And what will the external world think of this? That is sort of your current dilemma, is that you're not sure what direction to go next. And maybe that's because you haven't completely accepted things in a lens, in a perspective that allows you to feel like calm and inner peace, right? I feel like there is a need to look at the situation that you're thinking about leaving or going to, and really looking at it in a new way and being vulnerable, not having to wear that tough exterior shell that says, I'm fine. I'm fine. And you're not fine. Maybe you're not fine. You're feeling like there's something that needs to be healed, but you're too tough to be vulnerable. That is sort of the question that the Seven of Pentacles asks, is do I stay or do I go? And I feel like the idea here that you're being guided to consider radical acceptance, it may be suggesting that going, you know, like do I stay or do I go? Maybe staying and adopting a more radical acceptance about the circumstance you're in, but looking at it through a different lens by taking in the data from around you, but looking at it differently. Instead of looking at it through the lens of hurt and I didn't get what I needed, to look at it in a different way and to not be afraid to be vulnerable. And I think the thing that's creating an obstacle for you in whether or not you stay or go, or the decision, or the choice that you have to make about this is how others are going to perceive this. How are the other people in your life going to perceive this? So let's say you decide to go. How are people going to perceive that? Let's say you decide to stay. How will people perceive that? And I feel like, I mean, we'll keep reading here, but I feel like, why does that matter? Why does it matter what other people think? I feel like I want to ask you that, Libra. Yeah, because emotionally, you're feeling really dissatisfied. And you're not even seeing this gift from the universe here. You're just focusing on these cups that are sort of emotional letdowns. and you're like, you know what? This situation has let me down so much. I'm so dissatisfied, and now I'm bored. Emotionally, I feel very bored, and I'm not motivated, and I'm just like not open to discovery. You know what I mean? Because you're bored. You're bored with where you are at. That's why you're saying, should I stay or should I go? Because you're feeling bored and dissatisfied. And this idea of being open to being vulnerable and new ways of looking at things, I feel is being echoed here by this fourth chalice that's being coming to you from the mountain here, and you don't even see it because you're so dissatisfied, and I feel like you're not really open to information that's contrary to what you're thinking. Does that make sense? Now, yeah, what's driving all of this is that you're thinking about everything in the past that let you down. You're thinking about the past and not letting it go. Libra, if you're going to accept this, it is what it is, and you're going to stay where you are, that's fine. But you got to let go of the past pain here and be vulnerable to just sort of heal that pain. We heal by feeling. If we deny our feelings, that's why you've got cups here. You can't deny your feelings and hope to heal. You have to feel it. You have to feel it. You can't avoid that. You have to feel it to heal it. Do you know what I mean? And then you can let it go. But that takes vulnerability. That takes vulnerability to feel out loud, and I feel like you got the patience card because you need to sort of give yourself time and maybe give the experience that you're debating on leaving time as well. You know what I mean? And to sort of surrender the past because you're not looking at it in a way that's balanced. That's why this is in reverse. You're looking at it in a way that suggests that like you're not open to data other than what you're remembering and the way you see it. You're not open to seeing it from a different perspective because emotionally it was, hurtful or left you feeling maybe like when you were vulnerable, you got hurt. So now you're like, I'm not going to let that happen again. In the recent past, you sort of decided, listen, I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to face this. I'm just going to distract myself because I'm so dissatisfied with the outcome that, are you noticing this? You've got the 4, the 6, and the 5 in cups. So this is an emotional situation for you. It's very emotional, and sort of up until now, you've just been focusing on the pain and you're not facing the truth that there's an opportunity to move forward in a new direction here. This idea here, do I stay or do I go, is very Libra in the sense of like, it's not just two options. It's not just, do I stay miserable or do I leave and be free? No, you can stay and maybe shift things and heal the dynamic. It's interesting, Libra. This, take it as it resonates because I feel like this is a general reading, so it'll be different for everyone. But I feel like this is an emotional situation that deals with your sense of security. This 7 of Pentacles is all about your your sense, of grounding, security, identity, your sense of belonging, okay? So that's the scenario that you're thinking about staying or leaving. It has to do with it could have to do with a relationship, like one that you identify yourself with, like a marriage, or it could have to do with a career, one that you really identify yourself with that you've been building for many years. The Pentacles, it's something that creates a piece of your identity, okay? And then the Wands is like this idea that what are people going to think of my action if I leave? That's the Six of Wands. If I leave or stay, what will my action, how will it be perceived by others? And then we dive into the Cups, which is very emotionally tied to your feelings and how you feel about this situation. And you feel bored. You look at the past all the time, and that's what's motivating you to feel this way, is because you're looking at the past in a way that's not helping you evolve to accept the truth of the now, where you do need to add some acceptance radically, and maybe some forgiveness, and to be open to other perspectives by being vulnerable to them. It's interesting. In the upcoming future, I feel like you are going to feel the end of a cycle, and you're going to be not so sure where to set down your inspiration. I feel like you're going to come to a closure in a situation, but it's going to feel sort of bittersweet because you're not going to be sure what to do with all of this inspiration that you have. You're not going to be sure what to do with all of this drive and will. You want to embrace life fully, but it's like you feel challenged to start again. You're going to feel that way. It's feeling like, really, again. And I feel like that attitude is coming because you're looking at things from the past and saying that the past will predict the future. If it was like this before, it's going to be like this again and again and again and forever. Do you know what I mean? And so it could also be that you're thinking, if you go, that it's going to be very challenging. It's going to be very challenging to start over again from ground level, from the first base. So it's interesting. Lots of things to consider here, Libra. Your inner dialogue is one that, again, is a 7. You got another 7 here for your current situation and your inner dialogue. It's all about choices. You've got to make a choice, but you need to be patient as you do that. That's interesting. Do I stay or do I go? And the 7 of Wands is really a time where you're like, I am struggling against others. I am struggling against external forces, and I will take my will, in the sense of I'm holding my wand here, and I will fight. I will fight and compete with these others that are challenging me, right? It's like you feel with this 7 of Wands that you feel challenged. You feel like it's going to involve a struggle. The external world is a big focus here for you. It's almost like that's a big part of it for you. You're really focused on how you will be received by others, and will they challenge you? I feel like you feel that there will be an immense challenge ahead for you if you go one way or the other. That there will be a big challenge, and it will come from the external world, and it might feel like someone is competing with you, or is envious of you, or is like pushing you into a corner so that you have to defend yourself, And the outer part of yourself is interesting. There's a part of you that sort of is starting to appear like you are going to go with this idea that nothing is a sacrifice, and that it's all divinely timed, and that if something has to go, something will come in its place. And so I feel like you're in a position here, when I see the Hanged Man, that the way you appear to others is that you have sort of accepted this, but I feel like you're still on the path of making that decision. But you appear to the others around you that you've already made the decision, and that you're comfortable with it, and that it's like you're saying to yourself, I put myself here willingly, and now I'm going to just be still and patient and wait. And I feel like that may or may not be congruent with your inner self. My interpretation of what I'm feeling and seeing here is that on the inside, you're still debating things. You're still debating things, highly debating things, but from a place where you're sort of at a place where you've accepted the dissatisfaction. That could be the whole point of this reading, is that it is what it is that you've accepted dissatisfaction. And you're like, well, it is what it is. And so you're not actually seeing the idea that being vulnerable to decide here what's in line for your best outcome will be served by sort of being open to discovering something new and by being vulnerable. Libra, this is fascinating. I feel like the acceptance that you have right now is not serving you. It's like you're saying to yourself, I accept that I will remain dissatisfied because of the past choices I have made, and that if I try to start again, I won't know how, and other people are going to challenge me and judge me if I start again. So I'm just going to be a willing sort of dissatisfied participant, but I'm not going to be vulnerable because this person or this situation has hurt me in the past. So I'm just going to do me. And even if I feel bored and dissatisfied, I'm going to continue on this path. I feel like that's sort of what we're hearing in terms of your inner dialogue, but that this reading is trying to encourage you to be vulnerable and to adopt acceptance, but in a different way. A different way, not to accept dissatisfaction, but to accept certain parameters and then change the viewpoint within. You know, if that makes sense, if that makes sense, and to use your intuition. Yeah, there's the High Priestess. I think you're challenged to not perceive what your intuition is saying, but to listen to your intuition, because you're listening to your intuition, and then your logical self is like, I can't do that. Everyone's going to judge me and challenge me if I do that. What are people going to think if I do that? I can't do that. You know what I mean? It's like your intuition is telling you, do this. How about this? This is where we need to go with this. And you're like, no. I can't do that. I can't do that. How am I going to do that? I can't. How am I going to start over? And what is everyone going to think of me if I do that? Interesting. The final outcome here, wow, lots of wands. I feel like it's a 9 of Wands in reverse. So I feel like you are on the cusp of creation here. You are trying to push some vision that you have in your mind into the external world, but you're also sort of dealing with this emotional heaviness about something else. I feel like we've got two things going on here, that you feel caged. This 9 of Wands is sometimes depicted as an individual encaged by the 9 wands around them, and that the solution to their issue is just outside of the cage. And so again, I feel like seeing that with this card, Close Encounters, it's a very similar message in the sense that vulnerability is your key here. Being vulnerable to speak your truth about your feelings and to stand up for yourself, regardless of what the external world has to say about it. I feel like that is the key guiding message here, is that being in sort of in tune with your intuition, releasing the past, accepting the past the way it happened, and then releasing it, feeling it and releasing it. And then moving forward in a space that accepts certain parameters, but is open to different interpretations of those parameters, and releasing the sort of that dissatisfied feeling by choice, by choosing to no longer be defined by how dissatisfied you are. Does that make sense, Libra? Wow, and this is all going to take a lot of patience, so be gentle with yourself as you sort of move through your month, considering all of this. All right, I'm going to leave it there for you. Now, if this has resonated and you would like a personal reading, my email's in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and watching. And we'll see you again very soon for another reading. Sending you lots of love and light, my friends.